My name is Ricky Day, and this is Nothing to Lose But Yourself. What's going on, y'all? Welcome, and thank you for even joining. Once again, my name is Ricky Day, and this is Nothing to Lose But Yourself, my brand new podcast. And I'm gonna be fully transparent with you. I'm a little nervous. It's my first time at the rodeo, but we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this together. I did not start this thing to hear myself talk all day, though. So let's get into the episode and what it's about. First of all, today's conversation is one I am very excited about. I mean, if you're going to do something, I don't feel like you should do it half-baked. If I'm going to start a podcast, then I'm going to make it hot. It's going to be lit. And that's what it's going to be today. I'm excited about today's conversation because today I speak to a music industry icon about the importance of family and faith and believing in yourself. We also talk about her viral presence on Twitter, her friends and collaborators Burt Bacharach and Hal David, and how being her authentic self led to her first hit single. So let's dive in together and lean into a conversation with the icon, Miss Dionne Warwick. My guest today represents one of the most extraordinary examples of staying power the music industry has ever known. She's a 5-time Grammy award-winning music legend whose iconic sound set the bar for American pop music by earning more than 60 charted hits and selling over 100 million records. I said 100 million records. She's done more than entertain the world, though. As a humanitarian, she has advocated for global well-being via such efforts as AIDS awareness, Starlight Foundation, children's hospitals, and music education. She's met and worked with multiple U.S. presidents and used her music to support her activism. She performed in the all-star charity single, We Are the World, and on 1984's Live Aid. She also made recording history with Gladys Knight, Elton John, and Stevie Wonder with That's What Friends Are For, a #1 hit and the first recording dedicated to raising awareness for AIDS. Miss Warwick's recent honorariums in 2017 alone include the 4th Annual Cine Fashion Film Awards, the prestigious Marian Anderson Award, and she is now an Apollo Theater Walk of Fame inductee. Still unstoppable, Miss Warwick continues to perform and is the new queen of Twitter. Yep, queen of Twitter, because she injects some genuine positivity and humor into the platform via her heartwarming and often hilarious interactions with young stars like The Weeknd, Chance the Rapper, and Cardi B. I am honored, and honestly, y'all, I'm kind of hyped to launch my podcast and conversation with a legend herself, Miss Dionne Warwick. Hello, Miss Warwick. How are you? Thank you so much for joining today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am super well, despite the world around us. Speaking of the world, how have you been these last few months and, Lord Jesus, the last few days for that matter? How have you been coping?
So true. It's been trials. Trust me. Well, for the past, it's now 11 months. Yeah. I've been kind of confined in my home, which I find it quite pleasant for a change. Not having to run through airports or jump on planes and do all that kind of craziness. And I'm enjoying sleeping in my own bed for a change and getting up and when I want to, not because I have to. and run up in the kitchen, picking what I want to eat, not what somebody's fixing for me. Yeah, so it's been sort of the vacation I've never had.
That's wonderful.
And of course, all the madness that's happened the past couple of days has been just really trying. It really has. I mean, so uncalled for.
Yeah, it's unfortunate and uncalled for. I don't want to wade into too much of that political stuff, but I do remember that you were on The Apprentice and you worked with President at one point. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, that person that was on, that I did The Apprentice for, I don't know what happened between that boardroom, whatever that is, what he called it, to that Oval Office. I don't know what transpired between those two. I mean, New York is not that far from Washington, D.C. And for something that drastic to have taken place, I'm still kind of befuddled about that. That's not the person that I knew. I don't know what that is sitting in that Oval Office. That will be soon gone from it, thank God. And a few other responsible people. you
Yeah.
know, um, it's sad to see someone who can't take um, a civil uh, approach to. Okay, so you won. I think it's wonderful. Congratulations, and do a good job. I mean, that's that simple. How simple is that?
Yeah. It's tough. I know you're a woman of faith as I am a man of faith, and my faith
Hmm.
wants me to lean in and love and forgive. And I must admit,
Well,
it's very difficult because of all the hate that's been stirred up. But we're going to
yes.
pray for the country and pray for him.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I suspect mental health issues might be part of that process.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Not the way he's approaching this. It just doesn't make sense. So I think a little time spent with a few responsible people who deal with that kind of issue might not be such a bad idea. And he's got children
Right.
that should look at it and say, Dad, let's take a little walk here,
Yeah.
and find out what the real problem is.
Absolutely. So I am proud to admit I'm one of your nearly 442,000 followers on Twitter. And I'm
Thank
here
you.
for it. I'm here for all of it. And tell Brittany we love her and we thank her, by the way,
Yeah.
for turning you on. I know the story personally, but if you wouldn't mind just briefly, I just don't want to assume my listeners know, how'd you get into Twitter and interacting with folks the way you are
Yeah,
there?
watching her and my other nieces and nephews on Twitter, how much fun they were having, going back and forth with certain. I said, "Oh, that sounds like something I can do." And since I'm sitting at home now with nothing else to do, it was like, "Okay, Britt, show me how to do this." And she said, "You really want to know, Auntie?" I said, "Yeah, I really want to know." She took her time, gave her some frustrating moments, but she took the time to show me, and it's working out. I'm having a great time.
Well, that's one of the small blessings the pandemic in 2020 has given us. Dionne Warwick on
Yeah.
Twitter. You are a perfect example, though, I think, of a great way to lean into the moments that we're in and just, not try to resist and fight the moments, but find ways to experience them that are positive. It keeps you from being lonely, it keeps you engaged, and gives
Oh
you,
yeah, it does. I've made some new friends, and a lot of the youngsters, uh, if they didn't know who I was, they're finding out who I am, and it's just been a bunch of fun. I'm getting such wonderful responses to. And I think what's happening is that they're enjoying a grown up being on Twitter.
they are. And the other thing I think they're enjoying is a grown up who seems to respect and appreciate them and wants to engage with them as opposed to
Yeah.
pointing fingers and looking down. You're engaging in a organic kind of way, which is what I do. I love young people. They love me. And it's really heartwarming to see. It's not lost on me that Cardi B and Chance the Rapper are two of the people that you've interacted with
Yeah.
most consistently. And they're really authentic people, as I sense you have always been. What's that been like for you interacting with them, among
It's
others?
been absolutely sensational. The weekend as well.
Mhm.
It's just been a bunch of fun and getting to know them as they're getting to know me. And it seems like something that they want to do. You know, um, it's just, how do you say? Um, they're appreciating someone as a lot older than them, understanding them and wanting to get to know them and to interact with them. And, I'm there if you need to ask me a question. I certainly have the ability of answering it. And I want them to know I'm having fun. I want them to know that, nothing is done in a malicious or a way that they can feel intimidated in any way. Ask me anything. I'll try to find an answer for you.
Well, you have been a blessing to us, and I honestly believe a blessing to Twitter. You've injected some positivity in a space that isn't always known for that. So I
Yes.
really want to thank you for that. Speaking of that, on your Twitter feed recently, you asked this question: how are you all choosing to create positive change, and what are the causes you're most passionate about? I'm curious, did you get any particularly inspiring or interesting answers to that?
I've been offline for a day or two,
Okay.
so I haven't gotten to those yet. But I will get to them, and I will answer. I think there's something I want to know, and I think it's something that each one of them had the ability of answering.
Absolutely. I can tell you, for me, my answer to that question is actually creating this podcast that I'm launching, and you're one of the first guests on.
Oh,
This
wonderful!
podcast is absolutely focused on talking to people, whether it's professionals or entertainers or psychologists or scientists, exploring how people get to really know, embrace, and love their authentic
Yeah,
self. Because I think it's important when you don't love and understand your authentic self as a creation of God and whoever you are on the inside and walk in that, we feel the need to create these hierarchical systems that oppress other people to make you feel better, buy things just to feel better, and speak ill of others just to feel better.
ex-
You have not been that kind of person at all. You seem to be a very authentic person in your life. And so, my question to you, and I
yeah.
think it may be one of the few times you've been asked this question, is despite what you do for a living and your wonderful career, who
Mhm.
are you at your core? Who is Dionne Warwick, the human being?
The simplest answer I can give you is what everybody who absolutely knows me, who have grown up with me, have been around me for years and years and years. What you see is what you get. That's Dion. I have no reason to be anything other than who I am or what I am. And that's I was taught that from, I think, from the crib probably.
Mhm.
Be who you are. You can't be anybody but yourself.
That's great. That's wonderful. And I've really sensed that in your life and career, as I said. From where I sit, you've not only been a talented artist and a self-assured Black woman, and I love Black women. I'm raised by strong, amazing Black women. But
Yeah.
you also clearly have been engaged, as you just shared, being your authentic self. Where did that kind of come from in you? Was it parental? Was it your life experiences?
Yeah.
Just the soul that beats in you? What is that? What fuels that?
Yeah, definitely my parents. Um, I can remember like it was yesterday, coming off tour, one of my very first tours. Miss Dionne Warwick, da 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 da, and coming home, still living at my mom's home, and sitting down at the dining room table, having dinner with everybody, and then getting up and going upstairs to my bedroom, and it was like, "Excuse me, Missy, these dishes have got to be cleared and they have to be washed." Okay, mommy. you know, Grounded.
Grounded.
Absolutely. That's where I was raised. That's how I still am. I have no reason, as I said, to be anybody other than who I am.
Well,
I like me.
and we like you too. And it's important. It's you say that, and I feel that, and I sense that from you. But that's not necessarily everyone's story. A lot of people don't like themselves, let alone love themselves. And
I know it's sad too. There's no reason not to feel worthy.
right.
You got to know who you are. And who you are is very important to liking who you are.
Hmm.
So I don't understand anybody not liking themselves. I just don't. There's no reason for them not to. My mommy and daddy always told me, and my grandfather, he was a minister, and I truly thought he was probably one of the wisest men that ever walked this earth, second only to Jesus, okay? And Grandpa always told me, always, I don't care what happens, what goes up or down, be truthful. Always be honest. And sometimes you're going to wind up with your foot in your mouth, but learn how to chew on it and swallow. There's going to be those occasions. And I mean, to this very day, all my friends who I actually went to school with are still my friends. We see each other when I get home. And they have said on several occasions, and you can ask any one of them, only if you really want to know, ask Dion. She will not belong. She'll tell you the truth. That's my whole upbringing, being who I am. And my mom and dad always preached that to me. You got to be you. You know, and sometimes people won't like it, but then, you know, that's their problem. They have to deal with that. You don't have to deal with it if you're going to be who you are.
Absolutely. You're not responsible for other people's
That's
reaction
right.
to your
Absolutely.
truth. But I do notice that you do not do it with any malice. You're just being lovingly and honestly who you are. And
Yeah, I like to laugh too much and smile too much to be ugly because that's what ugliness is,
yeah.
being evil and vindictive and doing crazy things to people when it's not necessary to do.
So many of my listeners are going to be young people, millennials, and such. And
Mhm.
so, I think it's important as a country and as people, we don't really cherish our history and we don't really tell the stories the way I think we should tell them about where we've come
Right.
from and to get to where we are. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in East Orange, New Jersey in the 50s and 60s. Paint a picture for us.
It was wonderful. You know, my childhood was what I wish was happening now. I wish every kid in the entire world had the opportunity to have the childhood that I had. I lived on a street called Sterling Street in East Orange, and our street was virtually the United Nations. Every race, color, creed, religion, and we all walked to school together. We played in each other's yards. We had sleepovers in each other's homes. We had dinners and lunches under each other's tables. So, you know, my childhood was a well rounded, loving, giving, caring childhood. Um, did all the things that youngsters should be doing today. You know, I didn't have the need to carry a gun, you know, and it's so silly. I find it really a stupid thing to impose that kind of grown up issue on a child. You
Yeah.
know, let them be children. And that has and will always be my MO. I have no reason to want a child to be a grown up. You know, give them the opportunity of growth.
Hmm.
You know, knowing God is very, very important, or knowing of God, and knowing that this thing that they call Dionne Warwick that you're looking at now
Hmm.
is what God created. You know, I I laugh at some of the people I do know that have had, you know, a little nip and a tuck and everything else. Yeah, I asked him, I said, what do you think that you can do to improve upon perfection? That's what God created. Child, don't
Exactly.
be crazy, okay? You know, I keep asking, what have you done? Who, what doctor do you go to? I said, his name is God. That's my doctor.
Wise counsel indeed. My pastor, Mike Warren over at First Corinthian Baptist Church here in Harlem, New York, we were at a men's retreat years ago, and he spoke to that. He's saying, God did all the work he did to create the world. And when he was
Hmm.
finished, he said, it is good. And then here
Yes,
we come with, oh, we're going to be great, amazing, fantastic. You're going to be better than God?
exactly. Tell
Really?
me about it.
Yeah. Makes no
Tell me
sense.
about it. You try being better.
Now, in many ways, you being your authentic self really kind of led and advocating for yourself led to your first hit, Don't Make Me Over. I know a lot of young people may not know this story. I know it, but a lot of young people may not. Would you like to share the story of how that first song came together?
Yeah, well, it was a case of I was doing demonstration records and background work in the city of New York while I was in college. And Backrack and David were the songwriters that I was doing majority of those demonstration records for. They wrote a song called Make It Easy on Yourself. I did the demonstration record of it and fell in love with the song. And they kept badgering me to record. Oh, you got to record, you got to record. I write about. I said, okay, as long as it doesn't interfere with my education, because my mother would kill me and you. So, that's a primary issue here. And I said, and as long as I have Make It Easy on Yourself as my first recording. And they agreed to that. Well, I was on my way into New York from school to do a couple of sessions. And on the radio, I heard this male voice singing my song, Make It Easy on Yourself, which did not make me such a happy camper. But by the time I got to New York and got into their faces, I kind of was not such a lady.
You're a Jersey girl with it, huh?
Exactly, Jersey jumped out of me. And I let them know, under any circumstances, don't even try to make me over. This is something you can't do. You made a promise to me. That's what you're supposed to do. Keep it. And Hal David put in the paper, came up with a little song called Don't Make Me Over. That was my first recording.
Look at that. Standing up for yourself, being your authentic self led to your first hit.
Yeah.
And Hal David, what a talented, amazing writer.
He was incredible. I never, ever called him a songwriter. I always called him a poet. Mm-hmm. He wrote to the heart, not at it. And the words that he wrote were things that people authentically wanted to say. He didn't fudge around. In other words, he kind of put it where people understood and had a reason to want to say those words. So, I miss him terribly. I really do. Yeah. He was a wonderful friend.
That's great. You mentioned education and how important your mom said it was to you.
Oh, yeah.
And that she would get you if you didn't complete that. As I have watched your career as a fan, and I did some research in preparation for this conversation, it came back time and time again. People talked about, of course, how wonderful Burt Bacharach and Hal David were as our songwriting team, but how complicated and difficult their material was and how you brought so much life to it. Talk to me about the role of your education and your training and in taking these natural gifts that you had and then elevating them and serving you over this long career of yours.
It was a blessing in disguise. Bacharach's melodies, basically, you almost had to be a college graduate or at least have some knowledge of music in order to sing those songs. And even those who had the knowledge of music found it very difficult singing. He has a genius way, and I have to say that, of marching to his own drummer. And if you intend to be a part of that scene, a part of that musical composition, then you have to learn to march to that drummer as well. And I found it very easy. In fact, it was almost like taking an exam every time we went to the studio with him. It was like, okay, let me see if she can do this. It's kind of the attitude I thought he took every time we recorded.
And you're like, I got this, what you got next?
Yeah, take a song like Promises, Promises. Changes meter every bar.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, really? That's what you want to do? Okay. So, I find my education has been very beneficial to me.
And so, a lot of my friends, as we listen to music, they've always got something to say about current music and current artists. And though they're not musical enough, they're not strong enough, they're not this, not that. But, what would you say, first of all, I love current music and I love current artists. I get it. But,
Yes.
Training is super important, I think. And I'm just curious about what you would share with them in terms of taking whatever natural gifts they have and finding ways to enhance that gift through training and through education.
Well, first of all, you have to find the importance of education, I think. Mm-hmm. I would not give any advice to any of them because apparently whatever they're doing comes from them. It's how they feel, how they want to sound, how they create. So there's no way in the world I would want to change anything. In fact, that's saying to them, be something that you're not, be not who you are. So that's not being fair to them. It may be a case of musically, as far as I'm concerned, it would not stand the test of time as mine has over these past 60 years. Mm-hmm. But it's something that is, making the musical scene what it is today. Right. And it's also being true to who they are.
I love it. I love that answer. And in many ways, I agree with you. And, they've got to be true to who they are. And I don't think it's fair to really, chastise them either when we've removed music from school, education programs and such. They don't have the training ground that we necessarily had back in the day. So they have found a way to invent with what was available to them. Um,
Hmm.
I know, in the 80s and 90s, you spent a lot of time on our television screens, from Solid
Yeah.
Gold to some of those infomercials. And I think it's important for people to, like yourself, to be able to tap into other talents you have and diversify the ways you're generating revenue. But for some people who don't know themselves, you can get lost in that sometime. How are you able to navigate those things, but still not lose sight of who Dionne Warwick, the amazing vocalist and recording artist, was?
I think everything I've done, aside from recording, uh, is part of the musical evolution I'm supposed to go through. That includes television, includes film, it includes the infomercial that I did, it includes anything that the path that I'm being led. I didn't choose this path. It's chosen me, and I'm just following it. So, whatever comes next, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Now, I know that family is important to you. You're a mom and a grandma
Yes.
and an aunt. And also, your friendship's obviously important to you. How have you been able to nurture those relationships with friends and family over all these years and not fall into some of the pitfalls that other stars have, where they're feuding with family or lose friends and have public feuds with other celebrities? How have you avoided those things?
I'm not crazy. Right? That's the first thing. I respect and love my mom and dad. God rest their souls.
Mhm.
My siblings, both of them unfortunately have made their transitions, but they were very special to me. My Aunt Sissy, who is still kicking right now, she's still alive and hanging in there and as feisty as ever. You know, um, all my friends that are still with us, that I went to school, starting grammar school, straight up through high school. Um, we still see each other. We still talk to each other. And we're all grasping this technology of texting and FaceTime and all that craziness.
Right.
But we do stay in touch. And I think that's quite important. Those friendships mean an awful lot to me and will always mean a lot to me. And I don't want to ever lose that. Whenever I have been able to spend time with them, I have a dear friend, Shirley, who has been my friend since we were 7 years old. And she's the one who has kept in touch with everybody, make sure she had all the right addresses and phone numbers. And when she knows I'm going to be home, she'll gather everybody up at her house and we'll all hang out and reminisce and tell lies and all that good stuff that Raven would do. you know, and I catch up on who's doing and who's got married, how many children are there, and all those kinds of wonderful things that complete a person, I think. Um, I don't ever want to lose that, ever. And I intend not to.
It's really amazing and wonderful to hear that. So many people don't have that story. They get that first hit or that first
Yeah.
film, and they claim that other people change. Their friends claim they're changed. Who knows what happens, but it happens. It's just a blessing and wonderful to see that that hasn't happened for you. That you
Yeah, they won't let me. It's just wonderful. Yeah, girlfriend, please don't even try it. And I won't.
A couple more questions and we'll get you out of here. I know you're a woman of faith. Miss Warwick, how has your faith fueled your journey through your life and your career? What role has it really kind of played for you?
Everything, every single thing. I don't walk on a stage without saying a prayer. Because I don't go out there by myself. I make sure of that. Um, I just feel that is the completion of who Dion is. My faith is very, very strong. And God is a very, very important thing to me, whatever he or she happens to be. And I feel that my faith grew from my family. As I said, I come from a gospel singing family. My grandfather was a minister. Um, I learned the worth and words of prayer through my family, who taught me very, very carefully that would see me through, regardless. What goes up or what goes down, prayer is truly the answer. And for those of you who never had to think about it, I think do yourselves a favor. There's a thing called the Bible. It gives you all the stories that you need to know. And at the very end of that thing called the Bible, it's a thing called Revelations. And that's something, if you want to really know what's going on, go to that first. Learn what's happening right at this very minute through our lives. So, I don't push my faith on anybody.
Hmm.
That's something you have to find for yourself. But I truly believe in mine. And it's carried me this long. And I don't think I'm going to give it up yet.
It sure is. And, people experience your faith through how you move through the world. The way you handle people and situations and moments is an indication of who you are and what you believe in and who you belong to. I know,
Yeah.
we all know these people who have built careers on profiting from other people's pain. And I know it's
Yeah.
affected you, it's affected your loved ones, but you've consistently seemed to navigate those situations honestly and dealing with them straight ahead, but with as much grace as anybody could expect. Would you say your faith has something to do with how you've been able to navigate those situations?
Absolutely. My grandfather used to, I used to ask him questions. I was the one, I was his nemesis. Grandpa, why? And I asked him one time, and I think it's the only time he didn't give me an answer because he couldn't. I asked him, I said, why is it that people get such joy out of other people's pain? And he looked at me because I think I must have been 15 or 16 when I asked that. And he said, baby girl, I cannot answer you. I don't know. That's something that they have to deal with within themselves. And I'm still trying to figure that one out. How can I get joy out of your pain? What 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 gives me the right to do that? Or why would I even think I want to do something like that
Right.
nature? It's ugly. And I don't want no ugliness around me. Mm-mm. My grandpa used to tell me all the time, smile as much as you can because you don't get wrinkles when you smile. Do you see any?
No, not at all.
And you won't.
You've always committed to being someone who uses your power to create positive change in the world, and obviously, that wonderful single "That's What Friends Are For" is an example of that. As you guys were the first to step up and really raise significant amounts of
Yeah.
money for AIDS research. But again, I think things get lost over time, and people remember the shiny. Fun parts of things and they forget what really that was birthed out of.
Yeah.
Can you kind of paint, and I hate to go here, but I think it's important for younger people to know, can you kind of paint a picture of that moment in time and what you and friends around you were experiencing and that what led you to act and to support the efforts the way you did?
Yeah. First of all, I preface it. I've been asked this question several times.
Hmm.
And I preface it by saying, first of all, Dionne is nosy. I want to know. And remember it like it was yesterday, sitting in my home with a couple of friends. We were watching TV. And on that show was the evolution of AIDS. We didn't know what it was. It happened to be a young man who was a steward who flew back into San Francisco. And we watched him actually die. We watched him shrivel into, we didn't know what it was. We thought it was cancer, a cancer of some sort. And until Rock Hudson put a face on it, we didn't know what it was until that point in time.
Hmm.
A lot of people said it was Agent Orange, it was this, it was that. Nobody really knew. And I finally said, after losing my valet to AIDS, I said, no, we got to find out what this is. I want to know because if I'm going to be around folks that have it, I want to know, first of all, how to combat it and how to protect myself from it.
Hmm.
And so I became the one who picked up the phone and called, and I NHA, and I called CDC. I got to know Tony Fauci very well. In fact, I became his nemesis. But he gave me answers. I traveled the entire world looking for solutions based on what I was hearing happening in Sweden, what I was hearing happening in Germany, what hearing in England, things that seemed to be working. I would fly in, pick it up, bring it back into the States. I mean, I was smuggling drugs.
That's
But they were working. They were working on people, you know. In fact, I've been coming through customs at one time. He said, "You're flying out of here locked down. What's going on?" I said, "I'm smuggling drugs." He said, "What? You're doing what?" I said, "Yeah, AIDS, drugs for AIDS. Get out of here. Go, go, go." You know, people being afraid to say the word.
right.
Instead of, so education became my advocacy. I wanted people to know what they were fighting so they could fight it. Ronald Reagan making me the ambassador of health in the United States in the 80s had a lot to do with my being able to interface with WHO, World Health Organization, to interface with the health departments in these other countries so that I would get an understanding of what they were going through and making them realize that it was happening right around them as well. So come on, kids, let's all get a grip here, and see what we can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still very, very much involved with it. I promised that I was on that train ride from the very beginning. And until it made its final stop with the cure, absolute cure, I would be on that train ride. And I still am. So, and people still come to me and ask, well, what's going on now? And I said, well, I'm not doing the research that I used to do, but I will stop and take notice as to what is going on, if anything. And as I find out, so will you know. So, it's still very, very much a part of what I'm doing. This pandemic at this point in time as well. I think if we just take heed and do what we're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
Be selfless, not selfish.
Exactly.
I'm seeing nothing but selfishness right now. People not doing what they've been asked to do, not only to protect themselves, but to protect those around them. It's a very easy thing. Put a mask on. What's wrong with it?
It's not
you go in the
difficult to
bank
do.
and rob it. Put that mask on.
Well, before I leave you, I want to read something to you and get a response to it.
Mm-hmm.
The windows of the world are covered with rain.
My God, yes.
Where is the sunshine we once knew?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows when little children play, they need a sunny day to go straight and tall. Let the sun shine through.
Absolutely, outdated.
Those words resonate so deeply.
Masterful, masterful. He wrote words that meant something. And, those words will stay as true to you today as they did to me in the 60s when they were recorded or written. So, and they will live long after I'm gone. These are words that sustain with meaning.
And Miss Warwick, could you leave us with a thought? Barack Obama asks this question often of people when he's in conversation with them. How are you experiencing the world or your world currently? And how would you like it to be?
How am I experiencing it? Yeah, I have to just take it one day at a time, see what transpires. Jumping ahead or thinking ahead never, ever worked. It never will work. They consist of 24 consistent hours. And you can't skip an hour in order to get to that 24. So I take it one day at a time. And whatever happens during the course of that day, I have to deal with it that day. I can't deal with it tomorrow. Because I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. First of all, nobody does.
Absolutely.
But that day has to be fulfilled. So I guess the answer is I take it one day at a time.
Well, thank you so much for taking this moment of your time and sharing it with us. Prayers for a wonderful continuation of your life for you. And we need more people loving and living and being authentic the way you are. Thank you so much, Miss Warwick.
It's been my pleasure. And thank you very, very much for inviting me to be a part of this.
Thank you. All right. Have a great day.
You do the same. Bye-bye.
Bye. Miss Dionne Warwick. What a wonderful conversation. What a wonderful soul. What a shining example of staying relevant by simply being yourself. Dionne Warwick is a great example, man, of grace under fire and the positive effects of knowing who you are and being true to who you are and yet being humble. And most importantly, being grateful for all that you've been blessed to experience and to receive. I think that family, friendships, and faith are the compass that always point us to the way home. And the lyrics of many of the hits she sung over the years sum it up better than I ever could. What the world needs now is love. And through good times and bad times, loving family and your true friends, your homies, your partners, your girls, they'll be by your side. That's what friends are for. I hope that you enjoyed today's conversation and you'll come back often, that you'll follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ricky Day, RICKYDAY, and that you'll spread the word so that together we can change the world, one conversation at a time. Remember, you can subscribe to Nothing to Lose But Yourself wherever you listen to your podcast. Please share this with your friends and have an amazing day and an amazing 2021. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can change this crazy world. And there's no time like now to start. My name is Ricky Day, and this is Nothing to Lose But Yourself.